Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
What is the number one reason so many savers worry about money in retirement? Well, the answer may just surprise you.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and four-time author, Tony Walker.
Let's start today's show with a question. You ready? All right, here goes. What would you say is the biggest reason savers worry about money in retirement? Is it A, inflation, B, stock market risk, C, future taxes on your 401k plan, or D, all of the above? Well, if you answer D, all of the above, you would actually be incorrect. Because while all three of these answers certainly contribute to savers' worries, I can tell you this, as someone who has met in person with over 15,000 savers and still meets to this day, each and every week, 30 savers a week, the main reason that savers continue to worry in retirement, yes, even those who already have financial advisors handling their money, is this. They worry because they don't have in place a written game plan. And today, we're going to share with you the three biggest reasons why you need a written game plan in retirement and how we at Tony Walker Financial can provide one of those to you free of charge. So, let's get started. Well, welcome folks to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, written game plan specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we share with you the three reasons you will want to have a written game plan in retirement, let me introduce to you in the Worry-Free Studios here in Louisville, Kentucky on this August 23rd, 2020, went blank there, Aaron, is America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. Good morning, Aaron.
Hey, good morning, sir, on August 23rd, 2022. There we go.
Oh, man.
Good morning.
You know, me and Susan just celebrated our 39th wedding anniversary back on August 20th. I guess I'm still stuck on that date. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Little celebration music, please.
Yeah, pretty cool. So, Aaron, before we get into the meat of today's program, you hear me talk about these written game plans. We've showed it on the TV show. Why is it, I'm going to put you on the spot here, you may not know the answer to this, but why is it you think of all these savers I see day in and day out, while they might have investment statements, they've got their Social Security statements, they may have purchased an annuity or whatever, got their 401ks, of course. Why do you think none of them have something called a written game plan for retirement?
Why do they not have one?
Yes, because most of them do not.
Probably because they're just not thinking that far ahead in advance, and they think, well, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
That's very good. And the first part of that was really accurate in not thinking that far in advance, because here's what I discovered, Aaron, back in 2000, 2001, when I realized when the stock market was going down the hill for 3 straight years, I needed to create a process to help all of these baby boomers. Now remember, back in 2000, 2001, Aaron, most people were still working. The baby boomer class had not yet reached retirement. And I kind of thought, wait a minute, eventually these people are going to retire. They're going to want more of their money in a safe position. They're going to want all this money in the stock market and go through 3 straight losses like they're doing now. So what I think the main reason most people do not have a written game plan, even those that have worked with advisors, okay? I'm talking about people that have 401ks and advisors, and is because nobody thought ahead of time to create a written game plan. You see, folks, a written game plan is not easy to create. In fact, it took me years to come up with what we call the Worry-Free Retirement software. This is proprietary software. It cost me personally well into the 6 figures, and took a computer programmer along with my staff, along with all the stuff we had been doing, to say, hey, how can we create a visual, if you will, a visual that allows the saver to not only see what they have to work with, but here's the kicker, folks. This is right in track with my live well, die broke philosophy on life and money, but also allows them permission to use and enjoy this money before it's too late. So, Aaron, that's why I think most people worry. There's several other reasons, but I think really the financial world just doesn't know the mind of the saver. They don't understand what savers are worried about, and they sure didn't take the time 20 years ago to start working on something to help the saver and the advisor monitor their progress. So we're going to be covering that today. What we're going to do, we're going to come back here. Let me take a quick break. Get ready for the show. This is going to be a good show because if you're that person that sits there saying, well, I think I've got a written game plan. I got a 40-page report I keep getting from my advisor with all these statements and investments I don't understand, but they tell me everything's okay. I guess that's a game plan, isn't it, Tony? Well, no, that's not a written game plan. So when we come back, we're going to share with you the 3 biggest reasons you're going to want a written game plan. Now, again, this doesn't matter if you're already retired or nearing retirement. This is some really good stuff. You're going to want to stay tuned. I'm Tony Walker. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement, myself and America's favorite financial sidekick. We'll be right back. Are you nearing retirement, and does your employer offer you a pension? Do you realize that with interest rates going up, the value of your pension will be going down by as much as a 25% loss in value? Don't let this kind of money get away from you. Take action now before your lump sum pension loses value. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or give us a call at 877-499-9255. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. So if you're retired or thinking of retiring soon, maybe you know of somebody who doesn't know if they can retire, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. We look forward to talking with you soon.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Worry-Free Retirement. I am America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Ornder. And, you know, folks, we understand a lot of you are probably listening to this while you're riding down the highway in your cars, or you might be on your lunch break at work or whatever, and you can't catch the whole show. Hey, that is no problem. If you want to catch full episodes of the Worry-Free Retirement, it is really easy to do. All you got to do is go to SoundCloud.com. That's SoundCloud.com, okay? And right there at the top, there's a search bar. Just type in the Worry-Free Retirement. Worry-Free is one word, the Worry-Free Retirement. And click search, and there you go. You're going to see our awesome bobblehead. Click on that, and you're going to find all of our past radio episodes.
Well, thank you, Aaron. In case you're just now joining us, we're talking about the 3 reasons you're going to want to have a written game plan, something that's easy to follow, something that's easy to monitor. And then we're going to get into those 3 reasons in just a second. But let me kind of set the stage. As a fiduciary, again, I've been in this business 38 years. I've met with over 15,000 people. I really have gotten really good at sizing up people's situations very quickly. In fact, yesterday in our Louisville office, as we record the show on August 23rd, 2022, I had pretty much appointments all day for starting at, let's say I started at 9:30 and ended at 5:30, close to 6 o'clock yesterday, and had back-to-back appointments every 30 minutes. And people might say, well, I don't know how you can do that, Tony. That sounds preposterous to see that many people. Well, over the years, I've learned that in order to see that many people and meet face-to-face with me personally, I've got to have a game plan myself, and that game plan includes 3 salaried fiduciaries who can assist me in the backroom office stuff that we have to do. It also includes 11 full-time employees in addition to those fiduciaries who continually work on the game plans, provide all the wonderful service we provide after the sale. And also it allows me, by having all this wonderful staff, to really focus and use my skills to help ascertain and discern very quickly what that saver is worried about. And here's what I've decided over the years. Most people worry because they don't have a written game plan, which is why I created one years ago called the Worry-Free Retirement. Now, let's kind of set the stage. Let's say you're thinking about meeting with me. This happens all the time. We had several people yesterday that came in the office. Some were current clients. Some were in for their second or third appointments with me, but some were meeting with me for the first time. So you might say, well, yeah, Tony, I'd like to meet with you. If there's no cost or obligation, I'd love to do that. Well, we're going to ask a few questions of you, and we're also going to ask you to bring in certain items for me to review. And Aaron, I guess that'd be like going to a doctor, wouldn't it? If you've never seen a doctor before, wouldn't you think it's odd if he didn't get a medical history and maybe have you take a couple of x-rays?
Right.
Can you imagine if you went in and he just blindly started prescribing medication without
What's going on? Well, my ear hurts. Okay, well, we're going to look at your foot.
But that's what happens. A lot of times people go into advisors and man, they're they got that dagger out there ready to make a sale. Well, we don't do that. We have to see documents. So here's some of the documents we request. You may have all of these. Some of these you may not. But for instance, I'm going to want to see your most recent tax return. Because retirement planning involves so much on how to minimize taxes, I got to see where you are on your taxes. I'm not trying to be nosy. We're not trying to take the place of your accountant or tax preparer. We're trying to set up a game plan to minimize taxes through retirement. And I'd hope you'd want us to do that. So I got to see your most recent tax return. Another thing I've got to see, assuming you have annuities or life insurance contracts, I got to see those. Folks, many of you say, well, I got an annuity, or I got this, or I bought that. Folks, there are so many different types of annuities out there. It's crazy the amount of annuities there are, both old and even the newer modern day annuities. So I have to actually see statements and the contracts so I can see what we're working with. Obviously, if you have any brokerage statements with your stockbroker or advisor, I need to see those. I need to see your 401k statements. It's preferable if you can get a statement for me versus just online and it just shows a value. We need to kind of know where it's invested, how much you're contributing, is it Roth, is it pre-tax, etc. Another thing I've got to see are your Social Security statements. If you're retired, I need to know the gross amount of that Social Security. If you're not retired, we need to see all the estimates for the various ages that you might take Social Security. And finally, and this always comes up, Aaron, I love to ask this question. I'll look at all this paperwork. Everything's going smooth. I'm taking my notes. I'm diligently going through everything. I always go, okay, may I see your written game plan? What do you think they say?
They probably look at you like you just stepped off the mothership, like you're nuts.
Yeah, the typical response is, what do you mean? I don't have one. Or I love this one. They'll hand me a 40-page document of all these investments, and they'll say, I think this is it. And I'll have to say, no, that's investment statements. That is not a game plan. So this is why I truly, truly believe, folks, this is why most of you are still worried. Even if you've already rolled over your 401k, even if you already have investments with an advisor, you know, and I know both, the reason you're going to need some sort of written game plan to monitor is because that things will change. Mark it down. Things are going to change in retirement. After doing this for so many years, after literally having thousands of clients, half of those clients are over the age of 65. You were at our recent client appreciation dinner, Aaron.
Yes, I was.
mean, most of those people are retired, right?
Right.
So, folks, we get to see this play out. I've been doing this so long. And so let me just give you an example of some of the things that change that maybe in our original plans nobody thought about, or if you're with an advisor, they're sure not going to talk about. Okay, first change, of course, you eventually, if you live long enough, you or your spouse will die. Now, the problem with that is not only is the grief process of losing a spouse, but usually along with losing a spouse, you're going to lose some income. Either you're going to lose their Social Security, you're going to lose some of their pension, you might lose some tax benefits. Okay, so there's going to be a loss not just of the spouse itself, but of money. So you need to plan a contingency plan, and this written game plan will help you deal with the loss of a spouse. Here's one that takes a toll on people right now, Aaron. I'm seeing more and more of this. Either the loss of a child or circumstances where the child's circumstances warrant that these parents who are already retired are now starting to take on the grandchildren of their children, the children of their children. Does that make sense? The grandchildren.
Yeah, the grandchildren. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure if I asked those people 20 years ago, let's say they're 60, oh, by the way, we need a written game plan because you never know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, your grandkids might move in with you and you may have to take care of them the rest of your life. What do you think they'd say?
Well, I didn't plan on that.
Didn't plan on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple I just met recently. The child and his spouse are going through a divorce. There's some really bad issues going on. They're having to take care of the grandchildren, and those grandchildren are in private school. Now, the children can't afford it. Yeah, exactly. Aaron's rubbing his fingers together.
I'm rubbing my fingers. I'm making the money sign, folks. That's a lot of money.
Because what happened, Aaron, in our Monitor Your Progress situation, we noticed we have a process we use in our office, folks, because we have these written game plans and such a wonderful staff, we can provide this free service. But the staff will alert me if they see anything off. So in this case, the amount of money they were supposed to have in their account was much lower than we anticipated. So we call them up, they come into the office, we have our free meeting. I mean, this is our role and our obligation as fiduciaries. And I basically said, look, nothing to be alarmed over, but we've noticed your account balances with Schwab are way down and it has nothing to do with the stock market. And that's when they disclosed, well, Tony, to be honest, it's been a rough year, brother. And I asked them why, and they said, because we're having to pay for our grandchildren's private schooling, which is a huge number. So that would be an example. Here's another example is just poor health. I had a couple the other day, Aaron, and bless their hearts. I mean, as soon as they retired, both of them has had major health issues. Currently, they're under the exchange program with the government, which is okay, but it doesn't provide good coverage. So they're out thousands and thousands of dollars on additional meds and things that aren't covered by health insurance. Again, something they hadn't planned on. And then finally, if you're listening to this show as we record it in August of 2022, the stock market could be down. And this is why, folks, I created something called the Split IRA. And this is why we never, ever encourage savers, especially in retirement or near retirement, to put all their money in the stock market. Folks, this is ludicrous. I mean, I'm not sure what some of you are thinking, but if you're retired or nearing retirement and without a written game plan, now listen closely, a written game plan that doesn't make assumptions of making 7, 8, 9, 10%, or 12%, even as the fellow on the financial entertainer on the radio is always blasting about. No, we're talking about assuming numbers, rates of return in the 2 to 3% range. Now you might be saying, well, Tony, surely I can earn more money than that. Well, you probably can, but over the long term, why in the world would you want to assume you're going to make 8, 9, 10% when it's a fact that you may not? Just look at the current stock market and how much it's down. Just go back to 2008 and look what a mess that was. Go back to 2000, 2001, 2002. Look at all the money you would have lost if you'd been retired, had all your money in the stock market, and needed that money lickety-split. So folks, the game plan is essential. Now, there's 3 reasons why you're going to want a written game plan. First, so you and your family can be on the same page, okay? That's very important because I know when I'm meeting with spouses, Aaron, this comes up all the time. In almost every case, now it may be the male, maybe the female, it's not always the same person, but there's usually one spouse that kind of handles all the investments. You with me?
Yep.
The other spouse, if we put them on a lie detector, would admit, I know nothing about investments. Okay? So what'll happen is, on the first meeting, the first spouse will always show up, and I always know that either 2 things. One is the other spouse is still working and just couldn't make it, which is a legitimate response. You know what the other reason they probably don't show up?
They just don't know.
They don't know. Yeah, it's like, so I'll say, well, sir or ma'am, where's your spouse? And they'll say, well, they just leave all this up to me, or they're just going to get confused. They just don't even want to know what's going on. And I'll say, that's fine, but what are they going to do when, not if, when something happens to you?
Which I was going to jump in and say that to me would be one of the number 1 reasons why you need stuff written down. You know, I know even as a 42-year-old man, Jessica and I, you know, we write down our budget and we both go through it and we both know where money's going because, yeah, I mean, you have to have it written down. If something happened to you, I mean, I know for a fact this happened to my grandparents. You know, my grandfather passed away before my grandmother, and immediately my grandmother started getting all these phone calls about, well, you know, your husband had stock in this company and, you know, what would you like to do? She had no idea. She had no idea. She's got stock invested with, you know, just various companies that, you know, Grandpa just put some money in here and there over the years, and she started getting phone calls when he passed away. Well, what would you like to do with this, Miss Ornder? She had no clue.
Wow. Yeah, that's all the more reason, folks, why you need a written game plan. Now, the second reason you need a written game plan is so that you and your advisor can be on the same page. I mean, I often wonder, what in the world are you all talking about when you have all these changes that come up? And how are you going to make a determination on where to take money from, which accounts, the taxes, the fees, if you don't have a written game plan to monitor? It'd be like taking a trip out west and you've got one road you're going to take, and that's the only road you know, and all of a sudden you find out the road's blocked and you have no map, you have no GPS. What in the world are you going to do? And then finally, the third reason you need a written game plan, I can assure you, because we get so much positive feedback from our clients who have one, is just simply peace of mind. Peace of mind in knowing that you've got everything in writing, as Aaron just mentioned. Peace of mind in knowing that you know where the assets are. Peace of mind of knowing you can monitor your progress very easily. And peace of mind of knowing, as you move through retirement, how much you can spend without the fear of running out of money. So I hope this helps. So when we come back, I'm going to actually share with you a case study of something that came up recently. This is someone that came to me who's getting ready to get into the second half of life, and how they had assets spread all over God's creation, 100 different advisors. Everything was hunky-dory until they sat down with me to put a written game plan in place. I'm Tony Walker. You're listening to the Worry-Free Retirement. Good stuff coming your way. I'll be right back.
My name is Mark Williams, and I've been in the financial services industry for around 30 years now. I'm the CEO and president of Brokers International in Des Moines, Iowa. At Brokers International, to put it simply, we help agencies and financial professionals grow their business. We offer live support, digital tools and services, and several ways to submit both annuity and life insurance applications. Right now, we service around 4,500 financial professionals nationwide. The one thing I continually see with the successful financial professionals that we work with is that they have a repeatable process of doing business and providing service to their customers. Tony Walker is one example of those financial professionals that utilizes a repeatable process. We started providing our services to Tony and his firm a few years ago. I think what makes him so successful is that he's got such a well-oiled machine, a process that he's created himself. In fact, I flew my team out to Kentucky so we could see it face to face how Tony consistently provides that service. When it comes to his process, I found that one thing Tony does really well is hire more service professionals to help him so that he can continue to see and help more people. Tony has figured out that in order to service thousands of clients with top-notch service, you have to have a process, a way to duplicate what you do day in and day out. I'd invite you to give a call to Tony Walker.
And now it's time for Tony in the Trenches.
Our Tony in the Trenches comes from Dave, just outside of Bowling Green, Kentucky. He says, Tony, I'm trying to figure out which investments to select in my 401k plan, and I keep hearing about the best thing to invest in is something called a target date fund. What are they? And I'm just curious, how have they performed as compared to the S&P 500? Well, this is a great question, and I'm seeing these more and more. And you've got to understand, since the financial world, especially all of these mutual fund companies that make all this money off your 401k and provide you these investment options, don't have a game plan either, they've tried to get kind of cute and create something called target date funds. So in the perfect world, you would pick the year you're going to retire. Let's say you figure you're going to retire in the year 2030. Then you would just go down the little financial sushi menu of your 401k. You just find the target date fund that says 2030, that coincides with the year of your retirement. Presto whammo, you pick the target date fund, and guess what, Aaron? Everything is all well in Mudville. You think that's the case?
No.
In fact, it's kind of comical. Here's an article from wealthmanagement.com. It came out on June 2nd, 2022. It says, worrisome, you know me, I love the word worry, worrisome target date fund performance year to date. And it says, so far this year, stocks have lost 13%, bonds have lost 9%. Again, folks, this is one of the first times in history. I've been doing this 38 years. I've been licensed to sell securities since 1986. I've been through all the big-time downturns of the market. And it's the first time I've seen stocks and bonds lose this much at the same time, which hence, this goes on to say, if you had had a 2020 fund, in other words, if you were going to retire between 2015 and 2025, since that matches up, Aaron, right, 2020, you would think everything would be safe and secure, right?
You would think.
That means you're not going to have a lot of securities. Well, securities also include bonds, and since bonds have gone down, people have lost a ton of money. So folks, remember, the 401k is a savings plan. It is not a game plan. So if you've got a 401k with a previous employer, maybe you're retired, a 401k you've rolled over, get a second opinion from us. Let us show you how to put a game plan around that thing to use and enjoy it with our split IRA concept and our tax-efficient way of planning for those tax-infested 401k plans. Okay, only got a few minutes left. Let me go over a case study, and this is a great example, prime example, of why you need a written game plan in retirement. Now, in this case, this was a single person. She came into me. She was 71 years of age. One reason she came into me, she said, Tony, basically, she admitted it, Aaron. She said, Tony, I've got quite a bit of money, but here's the problem. Over the years, I've used several advisors. So she had money spread out with different advisors, okay, just people she met. It happens. Met a nice person there. Somebody at the bank wanted them to put money here. And it was interesting when she came to me, she said, and also, one of the advisors is wanting me to do something called a Roth conversion and said it's going to save me a ton of money in taxes. Okay. Another advisor was wanting her to move more of her money into an annuity. And I can't remember the third thing. But what was so funny, Aaron, nobody was on the same page. So you had all of these different advisors with all of these different ideas telling her to do different things. And to say that she was confused what to do at age 71, being single and scared to death, would be an understatement. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had anything in your life where you might have come up with something and you seek other people's opinion and you quickly find out that everybody's got a totally different opinion.
Yeah, Tony. I mean, I can remember, after I finished college, it was kind of like, okay, now what? And I got, things thrown at me from all different types of people. And, well, you need to go get your master's degree. Well, you need to go get your doctorate. Well, you need to get into the workforce. You need to start making money. Well, take a year off, go travel. I mean, I heard all of that.
Nobody told you to go work with a little man in a sweater vest?
No, nobody said that.
You should have watched the movie The Graduate. That guy had some great advice. Play that little clip, Derek.
I just want to say one word to you. Plastics.
All right, now that's an excellent example. Well, finances is even worse than that, Aaron, because I guarantee you this, and many of you have experienced this. Go ask 20 different advisors the same question, and I wouldn't doubt if you don't get 20 different answers. The reason everybody gives different answers, number one, some people, quite frankly, don't understand retirement planning, but mainly the reason everybody gives different answers is they don't have a written game plan to base those answers off of. So that's why, Aaron, back to your example. Now, if somebody knew you really well, knew your acumen, knew your interests, took the time to really understand who you were, they probably would then be in a better position to help guide you on choices you might want to choose as far as a vocation, right?
Right.
But if everybody just gives flippant answers or here's what everybody else is doing, that's kind of the way the financial world is. So that's you right now, folks. If you're sitting there saying, Tony, man, this is really resonating because whether you're retired or getting ready to retire, I'm telling you, if you do not have something in writing, something that gets you on the same page with your family members, gets you on the same page with the advisor you're going to work with, and more importantly, just gives you peace of mind that you're doing everything you can to make the most of your money and keep more of your money in your pocket, then we need to talk. My name is Tony Walker. I am the owner and founder of Tony Walker Financial, a full-service retirement planning firm with more than 38 years experience. Besides myself as a fiduciary, we have 3 salaried fiduciaries, 11 full-time staff, and offices in Bowling Green, Louisville, and Lexington, Kentucky. And we'd love the opportunity to talk to you further about your retirement. To get started, it's easy. All you got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. We have a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call we can schedule, and if it warrants, we'll be happy to meet with you in person. That's right, the owner of the company, at any of our offices. So TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or give us a call anytime at 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, we've enjoyed our time together. Between now and next week when we talk again, though, you remember, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.